Hey, this is Rustin Rose with Metalholic Magazine, Access Entertainment, and of course Metal Nation Radio. And with us tonight, Nick Roberts of October Age, all the way from down under. But you're here in the States still until tomorrow, right?
That's correct, mate. A bit sad. We fly out tomorrow morning. It's been one hell of a tour. We've been here since July, and man, we've made so many amazing new fans and met so many cool people. It's been one hell of a ride.
And you guys were out with Boba Flex and Royal Bliss. Those are always fun guys to hang out with. How was the tour? Pretty entertaining?
Oh, of course, man. Of course. They've been absolutely phenomenal. And what a great bunch of guys. Man, I actually couldn't think of anyone better that I wouldn't mind sharing the road with. Those guys are just such good troopers, and you know what? They're family now. That's kind of friendship that we've sort of made over the past couple of months.
Any wild road stories that you've got to share from this tour?
Well, aside from the stuff that must stay in the tour, there's a couple of things. I guess you could definitely say that I'm an expert in driving a large vehicle or an RV. Now we had some pretty hairy takedowns coming through when it started to snow real heavy. Some of these things aren't totally equipped for winter yet, and me being from another country, not knowing anything about what cold does to a diesel, is kind of scary. And of course, it's even scarier when it happens up in a high altitude mountain range in Colorado. So we actually lost the brakes coming down the hill, which is not something I would wish upon even an enemy. So I've been scared before, but not like that. That was pretty bad.
And one clean pair of underwear later, right?
Exactly.
Somebody told me you guys, obviously when you haven't been out on tour, you guys have been hanging out, staying with one of the guys from Head East.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, actually, our first show when we first landed in America, we had Eddie Jones from Head East was actually at that show, and the production manager there, Nathan Jones, was also there, and they called our show and sort of introduced themselves to us, and we ended up having a really fun night together, and they bought us some drinks and all that sort of stuff, and we ended up becoming really good friends. And so whenever we're off tour or not on a run, we actually go and hang with Eddie and Nate Jones from Head East. So it's actually really cool. We love those guys. It's a great band too. So yeah, that's awesome.
Nice to see the history of rock connecting with the future of rock, you know? So.
Exactly.
Now, it's been a couple years since we last spoke about the Outrage album. A few changes since then. You have some new faces in the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually got Kai and John joining the ranks. It's almost been 2 years now. And basically, we after our USA run, we went home and found these two new guys that were just absolutely phenomenal. Kai is an amazing drummer. His dad is played in a band that was huge in England and Europe called XTC, and Kai himself is a fantastic drummer, and we pretty much got on really well with him straight away. You know, we all wanted the same kind of stuff out of our careers and that sort of stuff. And John was absolutely phenomenal. We were looking for a guitar player, which John does fantastically well, but he also is an even better keyboard player or piano player. And he just added this whole new element, and his knowledge of music is just astoundingly good. So, between those two and having, Will and I, being the founding members of the band all in one unit, it feels like we're, getting to that point now where it's becoming, really tight. The music's tight, and we're just, we couldn't be happier, really.
Well, that's saying something, because the previous album, Outrage, was phenomenal. Now, you guys have released the new EP, Fallout, Dust and Guns, and there's been something of a shift in the feel of the music since Outrage, to my ear anyway. Was that intentional or just sort of progression in your songwriting?
It is actually, well, it's kind of both. We didn't want to do exactly the same thing as the last album. I'm always of the opinion that a band should slowly, at least, evolve over time, and as you know, as the band's experience is changing, so should their songwriting, I think. And you know, that's definitely the case with us. And me and myself as a singer and a songwriter. But, you know, we had these two new members to the band, and, you know, we wanted to sort of incorporate a lot of their elements into the music as well. You know, it's not just a solo project. You know, we want to have a piece of everybody sort of in the band, and obviously they bring in their own influences and et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, I'm happy with the way that the evolution is kind of taking place.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if Kai and John's presence impacted the new EP, you know, if they came in and put some of their stuff into it instead of just coming in and playing what you gave them.
Yes, definitely, and that's absolutely the case.
Now, each of the 5 tracks on the EP stand on their own, but since there's only 5, take us through each track and give us a little backstory, if you will, on sort of the birth of the song, how it sort of came together. I mean, like, Valkyrie has a big ascending chorus, and it's just a great song.
Yeah, for sure, man. I love playing Valkyrie. It's probably one of my favorites to play live too, because it's just one of those tracks that the hair goes everywhere, and it's just fans go nuts. It's really, really cool. I guess we got the idea from all the sort of Viking mythology, like the Norse mythology that is kind of out there, and I guess the Valkyrie itself is kind of like, I guess in simple terms, you could say it's like the Viking version of an angel, but she was the angel that took the fallen warriors who fell on the battlefield to Valhalla, which is like, you know, Viking warrior heaven,
right.
to paint it simply, I guess. So I guess that's what that song's about. And then we had Signal Fire, which is, you know, we incorporated a lot of the piano in this one and a bit of, you know, sort of the choir effects and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, a lot of those, like, sort of weird sort of chord augmentations is, I guess, a lot of what sort of John also brought to the table too in that regard. And, you know, lyrically, it's quite a dark song. You know, we've had, you know, back where I live, on the central coast of Australia, I think it's the fastest growing rate of suicide to teens. We've actually had a couple of calls, and we found out a couple of fans, well, at least one in particular, I remember very vividly, this one afternoon I got a call that he actually, he died, he committed suicide, and I thought, you know, this just needs a song, and, you know, obviously that's what the Signal Fire is about. It's about, you know, getting out of that dark place and letting people aware of, you know, the crap that you're going through, I guess, in life.
I was going to say, you know, because it was interesting when I first heard that opening piano that John does. To me, it literally sounded like the auditory version, like the sorrow from a broken heart.
For sure. Exactly. So, yeah, I just thought that kind of melds together well. And it's a real powerful song that I also love playing. And then you've got End of Days. End of Days was actually inspired by a role that I took up back earlier this year when they started filming the new Mad Max in Australia with Tom Hardy. And I actually got a small role on that movie, and being on that set was just amazing. And so I sort of ended up writing a post-apocalyptic song about that whole experience, which is actually kind of cool. Actually, that song, and which is what kind of inspired the album cover, is actually an artist's depiction of my dad is actually on that cover, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, we love playing that song too.
It's got a bit of swing and groove to it.
Yeah, I like it. It is kind of different too. It's not our usual. It's kind of like one of those middle of the road things. You know, it's not too heavy. It's not too heavy or fast, but it's not quite a ballad either. Is it? It's kind of just like, you know, something that we can sort of get into and feel. And, you know, hopefully down the track one day we can play with a backing orchestra. That'll sound really epic. I love that.
So, and then Heart of Stone. That's one of my favorites on there. It's got that moody yet edgy sort of quality to it.
Yes, absolutely. I love that song. We actually wrote that a couple of years ago. My brother and I, and it was just basically a song about the hardship of being away from home for so long and being on tour for such a long. I mean, our last run lasted for 9 months straight. You know, at first, you know, when you first start to tour, it can be quite kind of overwhelming and a big change to your lifestyle. So, you know, that song was kind of a representation of, you know, this is kind of what it takes to sort of to get somewhere, and you've got to kind of ignore all the other BS that goes along with it.
Well, I got to tell you, I am a huge Game of Thrones fan, and then you break out White Walkers. Are you guys fans as well, or?
Yeah, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan myself too. I'm actually Will's well and truly up to date with the books. Me, not so much. I'm still on my way, but obviously, you know, we all watch the show and everything like that. You know, there's no inspiration, I guess, other than the fact that I just really wanted a song about Game of Thrones, and I thought, who better to include than the villain, you know?
Wait, is the villain the White Walkers, or is the villain Joffrey?
Yeah, maybe both, maybe neither, depending on your point of view.
Well, there you go. I don't know that I remember many characters in television or film that I wanted to see more dead than Joffrey.
Yeah, I know, right? But we won't throw any spoilers out there for anybody.
Absolutely. So now, I understand that the EP is just a taster of the full album. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that, when we can expect it?
Correct, yeah. We're actually going into the studio very early next year to finish off the rest of this album, which will be, once it's complete, a full-length album number 2. And obviously we're thinking of putting a few of these songs on the next record too. So I guess this is teaser, if you will. But no, this is the kind of direction that we sort of love to be going in for the next record, and we've got some pretty cool surprises coming up too, in terms of songs and what we're going to be recording too. We're pretty happy about what's to come.
So you've already penned most of the stuff, if not all of it?
I'll definitely pen most of it, yeah. There might be a couple of little things that we think of along the way between now and then. But yeah, we've basically got most of it all mapped out.
Nice. So get home, get some time down for the holidays. A couple things before we get out of here. Obviously, this week was the 10th anniversary of the tragic loss of Dimebag Darrell for you.
Of course.
What was he a big influence, or either musically or as a guitarist, or?
Definitely. I remember one of the first songs I ever started learning on guitar was actually Cemetery Gates. And man, I mean, I never perfected it. I don't know if you can, because he's just that much of a good bloody player. But man, it's just, you know, it's one of those things. It's such a sad thing to have happened. And, you know, I mean, it's happened a couple of times in history. I mean, obviously, you know, Lennon and Bob Marley, and although Bob Marley actually was lucky enough to survive that first attempt. But, you know, look, it does suck when that happens, but I think that, you know, if a musician is loud enough, and that's the kind of attention they get. I mean, it's sad that that's human nature, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, he's rocking with his guitar, either in hell or whatever with the devil, or I don't know what, but you know, he's yeah, man, what a great guy, what a great character, and you know, we wish I guess we all wish he was still here.
Absolutely. You know, I think the devil might be a little intimidated by him, but
oh, for sure. The devil's probably his bitch by now.
But it's so bizarre, so oddly strange that both he and John Lennon were killed on the same day, you know, December 8th. So
yes.
Quirky.
Yes.
But all right, so to give us a little idea of who you are as a guitar player and everything, I know for me, when I pick up my guitar, and it's been this way like most of my life, you start on autopilot, just sort of playing certain riffs. You know, you're not really thinking about it, you know, stuff you grew up and whatnot. When you pick up your guitar and you're not thinking about it, you're just mindlessly noodling, are there 2 or 3 like sort of classic riffs or something that your fingers just tend to gravitate towards?
Yeah, I always play Stone the Crow from Down for some reason. I'm not sure why that is, but it just seems to always happen. And then obviously some of the stuff that I've just either written, or maybe I'll play something bluesy like some Joe Bonamassa or something like that. And for some reason, it's just what my mind does when I'm just doodling around. And yeah, I don't know. I guess you know, it's just part of what's riding on your subconscious. It must be.
Give us 3 albums that sort of either changed your life or sort of, you know, inform your path in music.
Okay, here's number one, and it's number one because this is what I want to do with my band someday, and that is Metallica's Symphony in Metallica album. Although it's a live album, I mean, they did have some new material on that album. It just blew me away. Michael Kamen was an absolutely favorite composer of mine, and he's actually not with us anymore too, which is kind of sad, but he's actually one of my favorite composers. So to get one of my favorite bands and one of my favorite composers together and do a project is absolutely awesome. And I guess, I mean, I can't pick one Led Zeppelin album. I guess I kind of have to just kind of put them all into one group, but that's definitely one that I grew up with, and it's probably been one of the most impacting, not in terms of, I mean, I guess writing and you know, because I don't really sound anything like Robert Plant, but
right.
You know, just that's been there my whole life. You know, it's just my go-to band. And I guess another band that I've recently been getting into a lot is Alter Bridge, and their album Blackbird is one of my favorite all-time albums. And you know, I remember cruising along the highway at 1,000,000 miles an hour and listening to that track, and you know, it's one of those memories that I'll never forget.
All right, before we get out of here, just for fun, the pointless question of the week.
Yep.
What is the maybe one book that you always look back to, maybe your favorite book or one that really impacted you?
A book? Oh, okay. All right. Let's say my go-to fiction book is probably something along the lines of Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind. I'm a big fantasy reader. I kind of like that sort of stuff. And let's say non-fiction, we'll go with Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's always a good read.
Nice. Nick Roberts, October Rage. We're looking forward to the new album. The EP, Fallout, Dust and Guns, is fantastic. I love the direction the band is heading. And hopefully, you know, next year we'll get you over here for a few months again, playing and touring and everything. But thanks so much for taking the time, man.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Take it easy, brother.
Thank you, mate.